National Inclusion Week to everyone. And we've had quite a lot of people kind of say to us, can't attend because we're doing quite a lot across National Inclusion Week. So normally Dave and I would be quite disheartened by the fact that we might not have as many, but actually we're quite inspired by the fact that so many people have said, we can't do this because we're doing something else, which just shows that they're doing some really good stuff across their business. So I think without kind of further ado, we've got some, I guess, house rules. They're just general house rules that we live and kind of breathe by. So introduce yourselves, please. Make yourselves known on chat, kind of name, where you're from, meet with each other, talk to each other, and inspire each other. If you're not speaking, please make sure that you're on mute, and so that there's no background noise when kind of the guest speakers are speaking. As per usual, Dave will kind of put loads of stuff into the chat feed, so all of the links for LinkedIn to all of the guest speakers, the events that we've got coming up kind of throughout October, but also the kind of the different events and the B1G1 projects that we always kind of support on a monthly basis. So as per usual, we've got kind of 4 incredible guest speakers for you. So we've got Tanya Popeau, we've got Anna Buckle, we've got Erin Quigley, Lucy Entwistle, and Sasky. So all talking about very different topics, but all going to inspire you and empower you. I know they are. Now, without further ado, I will hand over the virtual floor. And our first guest speaker is Tanya. Tanya, over to you. Go and give us an incredible intro. Yeah, over to you.
Hi everyone, great to meet you. Great to meet you, Dave, again. Very excited to be here. So just a bit about my background and potentially how I could support you today with your questions. I supported the design of all the innovation strategy up at the United Nations. So I worked across Asia and Europe to design a range of different new innovations which drive positive social and environmental impact. So that means, you know, designing things that are focused on carbon reduction technologies, also on social impact, so women's economic empowerment, reducing poverty, education, etc. Because of obviously the success of that program and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, I'm sure you're all familiar with this, I now work with a range of businesses to support them obviously on their ESG agendas and designing new innovations to work within their businesses that drive positive social and environmental impact. I also lecture at Exeter on innovating, let me get this right, innovating for urgent global challenges and tackling global challenges. So yeah, quite exciting. And in terms of the businesses I've worked with Unilever, Jimmy Choo, HSBC, who else? Soon to come, Amazon. So working with a wide range of businesses, both large corporates and also SMEs. So that's me.
Amazing. And Tanya's going to be talking to you today about how to use sustainability to drive growth in your business. So Tanya, if you could kind of inspire us and tell us exactly how we can do that, that'd be amazing.
Absolutely. So I think firstly, this is a real myth. I think a lot of businesses feel that sustainability is over on the right side, which means just giving money and being quite altruistic, which obviously I think there's a real moral imperative here to drive positive social impact and positive environmental impact. However, they don't appreciate the growth opportunities here. The real opportunities to drive your brand, to engage with new customers and to attract new customers, and at the same time, expand your productivity as an organization. So how would you do that? Where would you start? I think the first stage is really to look within your business model and understand where there might be areas to either develop new products or new services that have that dual purpose of driving growth, driving revenue, driving profit, and at the same time, driving change. I think first start to think about yourselves as a business. Who are you and what do you really care about? You know, often I show businesses the UN Sustainable Development Goals. To be honest, some businesses have never seen them before, but I ask them to start by thinking about which goal do you really care about? What subjects, from, you know, no poverty to mental health to food waste to hunger. There are so many different goals, different topics that you could be focusing on. I mean, and that's one of the key things. So many people are just focused on the climate crisis, which of course it's at the, you know, uppermost of our minds. But don't forget the wide range of topics that you could be focusing on. So think about you as a business, you as your staff, and also your clients and your customers. Think about what they really care about, and then attach that to a place in your business model. Think about your products and your services and where you can combine that purpose with profit making or a growth making opportunity. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because the truth is, if we had more businesses that did that in their business model, more business that at the same time they were driving profit, they were driving change, just think about how different the world would look like now. I think one of the key templates, one of the key, exemplary businesses that people talk about a lot is really Unilever. And if you've ever read Net Positive or ever looked at anything Paul Polman has done, he came in when profits were down. I think people forget that at Unilever, profits were down, and he implemented the sustainable living plan in 2009 when no one was really talking about sustainability, but he saw it as an opportunity for growth and profit. And he looked across the entire value chain, from their clients to their stakeholders to their products. Think about Dove and the way their campaigns and their brands and their videos have positive messages for females. He also looked at Lifebuoy, the soap, and thought about how he could improve washing and sanitation in developing countries. They convened NGOs to governments to, a wide range of their clients. And they said, this is what we'd like to achieve. And what's key is on the first day, they set bold statements of what they wanted to do. And he's very clear he had no idea how he was going to achieve that. I think sometimes we stay a bit too safe, businesses within our business models, we're too safe about what we can achieve. I'm asking you to go back into your business models and talk to your staff and say, if we could really make change, if we could really make the desired change that we want to see, what would it look like? In 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, what would it really look like if we could wave a magic wand? Think big as you can do. And then that's where I start from an innovative perspective or from the innovation techniques, and then begin to ground it in some sort of reality, ground it within your business model. And, the big thing about Paul Polman is that Unilever drove growth. Year on year, he returned to the profits to the shareholders. Year on year, there was growth. And people forget that. People forget that, no one's denying you're a for-profit business. Often I hear that so much, we're a for-profit business. We'd love to make change, but we also need to grow. If you can combine that within your business model right now, in terms of what your consumers are expecting from you. In my program, there's a stat which I talk about. I was up at a conference at the University of Birmingham, and their survey had said that 45% of businesses have embedded the UN Sustainable Development Goals into their business models. And 96% of consumers are expecting them to do more. This is the trajectory, and if you look across your areas, from your clients, from investors, they are expecting this. They're expecting you to be doing more in this area. So you're only going to increase your opportunities of working with clients, working with investors, and attracting new customers. So I'll stop there and see if there's any questions.
Firstly, brilliantly insightful. And I think that so many people forget that profit and doing good can actually go hand in hand, and quite often do and should go hand in hand. I like the idea of what you said around he had no idea how he was going to do it and yet still do it. So I guess rather than kind of opening up the floor to questions, I would like to give 2 or 3 key real key takeaways. So if somebody really wanted to start this process, what would be the one thing that they should go and do now in terms of even getting a task force together? How many people should perhaps be in a task force? Who from an organization should be involved in that task force? If you could just give a bit of insight into that, Tanya.
Yeah, I love that. So in innovation, we always talk about designing, like you're saying, building a brain trust, building a group of champions. So that's people within your organization. Your staff are some of your biggest stakeholders because they work for you, and hopefully some way they're a customer too. Think about clients. So you might not bring in, the client that maybe you're not so close to, but the client who's your best friend, but they're a critical friend as well. We don't want yes people around us. When in innovation, when we're trialing and testing things, we need honest feedback. So I would say, think of do some sort of stakeholder mapping and think of your close stakeholders, critical friends, that best friend you've got in your personal life that will tell you the truth, give you some hard words if you need to hear it, but also, there's a loving kindness and they're supportive of your business. So gather that team first, make sure there's some of your customers in there, make sure there's some of maybe suppliers in there, maybe if you can, bring in an expert in a field that is related to yours, and absolutely create time and space to innovate in these areas, to think about these subject areas. One of the greatest mistakes that people don't make is expect this is going to happen without carving out time to do it. I think then have an honest discussion about what do we really care about. I think the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, are a great place to start. If it was any topic in the world, you know, what are our top 3 topics? What do we really, really, really care about? And then you need to think about, understand your own value chain. So your suppliers, your products, maybe it's a service that you have. Who are your customers? What do they care about? Who are your employees? What do they care about? I would have a kind of a ranking system with, you know, the areas that you really want to care about, and then maybe create your roadmap. That's what we do. So in the first 6 months to a year, what are you going to focus on? You know, then 3 years, then 5 years, and start small, have very big goals, you know, so I don't know, we want to really make a dent on poverty in our local area. I don't know what your, you know, or we want to really support mental health services in our area, you know, and then think about the product and service and how you as a team can begin to drive the change that you want to see, and how that can and how you can increase growth at the same time. And that is going to take a series of brainstorming exercises, a series of creative exercises. There's a range of things that you can kind of look up or consult, you know, experts, to really think. I have a kind of free webinar that I've said today, but I'd be happy to take people through that would give you an overview of where you might start and how you might start to look at these areas. But it really is, I always talk about starting with the challenge first, because, you know, look, we are in an era where people are really, really craving authenticity and craving integrity. I started my lecture with my undergrads on Monday, and I said to them, what's prohibiting you from buying sustainable goods, sustainable products? And they said, we don't trust. You know, there's something called the Endelman Report, where we talk about the trust that has been lost in our governments. I don't know why, I don't know how that's happened, but in our governments, in our leaders, we're looking for more. And we're expecting, it says on one of the slides I saw, 68% of people are expecting business to step up where government is failing. Think about what Marcus Rashford did a couple of years ago with child poverty and how people responded because nobody wanted to see children go hungry in their local area. Think about how the community galvanized around this subject that everybody cared about. That wasn't about a political party. That was no child going hungry in my area. Think about if you were a business that could drive that kind of campaign in your area, or even nationally. That's why I'm saying think big. Think about, honestly, the change you could make, the brand value, who you could attract. Think about what's possible. Also think about bringing champions into your area. Maybe there's a high profile person to get behind what you're doing. Now more than ever, people are expecting change. We've been for a very, very difficult period. We all enjoyed the community it brought. We all enjoyed the focus on the change in our welfare, and we're seeking for that to be continued. And if a business can step up and continue that kind of authenticity, continue that kind of, like exactly what we're doing today, continue that kind of community prosperity, you're going to thrive. You'll see Kate Brand from Google, you'll see Paul Polman say, the businesses that are going to thrive in the next era are those that solve our global challenges.
So you love it. And I think talking about the brand as well. So actually talking about it transparently, openly, shouting about it and not hiding what you're doing. I think so many businesses do incredible things already, and yet nobody knows about it. So some of that stuff that Tanya's already mentioned, when you start thinking about it, you probably think, we already do that. Yeah, we do that. Okay, so you've already got a starting point anyway. It's just bringing it all together and then being transparent and reporting on it, and then understanding where you need to kind of focus even further. Tanya,
thinking about your value proposition, just to say, because I think what too often, there's a product over here and a service over here that's driving profit and growth, and then there's some community stuff over here. To me, that's the old CSR way. That's the old corporate social responsibility. I'm saying within your business model, that product that you sell, that service that you sell should be driving profit and at the same time driving change. That is when you're going to really grow exponentially.
And also, just to finish off, let's not forget the impact that can have on your ability to attract talent, to retain talent, which is vital for you to continue to grow your business anyway. So your brand proposition, your value proposition, and everything that you do to engage with your stakeholders. Stakeholders come in many different kind of sizes, forms, and the like. So really kind of take a good look at what you're doing. Right. Move on to we always have a 5-minute wonder. Also, Tanya did a 5-minute includability short with Dave, which is incredibly insightful. So that will be kind of put into the chat feed as well. So anyone that wants to watch that, that'll be kind of put in the chat feed. So we always have a 5-minute wonder. Today we've got Anna Buckle. Anna is the Head of Employee Experience and Financial Wellbeing at PayCaptain. PayCaptain is somebody that we use for both of our businesses. And she's going to be talking about a recent partnership of theirs with a company called Plain Numbers. Plain as in Plain numbers. So Anna, over to you.
Thanks. Hopefully you can see the screen. Great. I mean, I don't know how to follow that. Blimey, Tanya, you're amazing. I've made loads of notes on what you were saying. Right, okay, so for those who don't know though, PayCaptain is a fintech business and we are on a mission to transform the way that companies pay their employees. So at the heart of what we do, at the core of what we do is a highly automated payroll engine, but we try and go beyond that traditional processing and also provide a range of features that support employees to become more financially resilient and have a better getting paid experience. And that's basically what my job is, to identify what those things are and build those solutions into the PayCaptain app. We're also registered B Corp as well, which we're really proud of. And as you mentioned, I've been asked to come and join you today, talk a little bit about the work that we're doing with Plain Numbers. So Plain Numbers is an organisation set up to work with businesses where numbers feature really heavily in the way that they communicate with their customers. And they're working with loads of different large organisations, loads of utility companies, banks, pension providers, and we are actually weirdly the only payroll solution that works with Plain Numbers. I don't know why more aren't. Everyone should be. But the reason that I personally became so invested in the Plain Numbers approach was when I started to understand the size of the challenge. And this is I'm just going to give you a little bit of a kind of background around Plain Numbers, and then I'll show you the work that we have done in conjunction with them. But what I learned was that almost half of UK adults actually have the maths skills of a primary school child. So you can just imagine that when you're getting your hard-earned wages deposited into your bank account, and then it's accompanied by this poorly designed jargon-riddled payslip, that's going to be quite difficult for people to understand. And alongside that, 1 in 5 UK adults experience maths anxiety. So they're going to feel quite overwhelmed when they start to look at those pay slips and anything numerical in general. Looking at the data of UK adults shown as a proportion of working age adults, you can see as well that poor numeracy is by far the biggest challenge that they face. That 20 million of those working age adults are struggling with numbers. So they're already facing barriers to make the most of their income, knowing what the best thing to do with it. And we just wanted to make sure at PayCaptain that the way that people are being paid doesn't also become one of those barriers. You can also see here that lack of savings is actually a massive financial vulnerability as well. And I am really passionate around promoting savings as well. So we've got quite a lot of work going on and some new features launching to help promote and help people build their savings and further support financial resilience, which maybe I'll get a chance to come back and tell you about those as well in the future. But back to the Plain Numbers payslip. So Plain Numbers, then, they've got 3 really sort of key principles. And number 1 is think about how you present the numbers themselves, make them really easy to understand. I mean, I've seen examples of utility bills where the decimal places goes to to 4 points. I mean, why? Nobody works that way. Why would you need 4 decimal places? Just nobody does that. Take them off. Don't add loads of terminology in that's specific to your business and that nobody else understands. I mean, God, again, sometimes you've got those bills that come through that have these encyclopedic glossaries just to help you understand what all the reference points are on the bill. Just make it easy for people to understand. And this is sort of my favourite bit as well, this final bit on fast and slow consumption of numbers. So thinking about which bit of information is actually really important, where does that need to go in terms of priority? Has it got an action associated with it? And again, using the example of a bill, just put the amount that people owe right at the top of the bill, make it stand out so that people can quickly review it. And perhaps under that, you could put what people paid last month and maybe an easy, quick calculation so they can see whether it's more or less. And then they've got a really easy, quick view in terms of what that bill looks like. You can include the full calculation further down so that they can slowly consume that information, and then they can feel really happy and confident that they're paying the right amount. So it's just actually quite simple, quite small tweaks that really, when you said them out loud, probably seem a bit obvious actually. But they have this massive impact when you bring all of this together. And I've only got 5 minutes, so I can't go into loads, but if you look at the Plain Numbers website, there's loads more data around the research that they've done, and the levels of comprehension are way bigger once these very small tweaks have been applied versus the documents as they stood before. So, okay, moving on. Looking at the way that we've then applied those principles, this is how we started out, to be honest, and hopefully you don't think this is too bad, because we always had this graphical payslip in the PayCaptain app, and this provides a really nice, clear visual representation of what somebody's being paid. It's got really nice little help icons on there, and if you click on the help icons, the data that comes up, the calculations are specific to your data, so it makes it really easy to process and understand what's there. But after my colleague and I became Plain Numbers practitioners, we just saw this possibility of taking this one step further and updating the traditional PDF version of the payslip, which you can see here. This is an example of one that is probably fairly familiar because it's a fairly standard layout in terms of what payslips look like. And it has all the stuff on it that if you wanted to go and ask for a loan or a mortgage that you might have to provide proof of earnings, it's got everything there, but it's not very pretty. But we kind of looked at ripping this up and starting again and applying all of those Plain Numbers principles. And this is what we got to. So hopefully you can see there's a fairly big difference. We've stripped back loads of the detail that was on there, and we're really just showing the key numbers. We've made sure that the really important number is right at the top there. So you will receive £1,921.30 on the 31st of July, 2023. That's really that's the one that I want to know. How much money am I going to get into my bank account, and when is that going to hit? We've taken out all of the jargon. So we've taken out things like gross pay in the year to date, and we've tried to apply different kinds of narratives instead to explain the money and where it's why it's there and where it's come up from. So this is what your pay is made up from. This has been paid out for you. We've used sizing in there to emphasize some of the most important information. You can see that the key numbers are larger, and we've emphasized the whole numbers and made the decimals smaller. We've used colour to differentiate as well. So the money that you're going to actually have hit your bank account is in green. Your income, your total income, is in blue, and the deductions that are coming out are in red. And one of the final bits that I really love about this, and has been really, really well received, is that we've pulled out the pension contributions as well, so that pension contributions doesn't just sit as a deduction on the payslip. It makes it a lot clearer that there's an investment there. So having that section at the bottom, the good news, your employer has also paid in to your pension fund, and then the total of all those investments it feels really much more positive. And we also have in the app, we just started to launch pension dashboards as well. So not only can you then see on your payslip this great feeling that you're investing, but you can also see your pension pot growing really easily as well, which makes a much more positive experience for anyone who's really trying to invest in their pensions. And sort of thinking back to what Tanya was just saying about contributing to these kind of global challenges, there is a looming pensions crisis, and we want to help people make sure that they are in a position to sustain themselves in retirement in a way that they want to as well. Not necessarily a global challenge, but certainly a UK challenge. We also have, if you click on the click here, we've got 5 different ways of being able to access support around your payslip as well, so that we're giving additional ways of support to people who have differing access needs as well. And one of the final kind of nice things about this that we've bits of feedback as well is that because it doesn't generate as many queries, obviously payroll teams have a lot more time to do things that are going to add more value to their organisations as well. So that's your quick sort of 5-minute overview of the plain numbers payslip, and we've got it launched with a lot of our clients now. Anyone who's new has this as standard, and the feedback that we've had is really positive. We've got all these Vox Pop videos that were recorded as well. We showed people the payslip, which are really positive. We can send those out afterwards maybe, but yeah. Hopefully you like it, and if you've got any more kind of questions, or you want to work with plain numbers as well, because they're a brilliant organisation, do get in contact with them, or have a look at some of the other research initiatives that we're getting involved in. Send any questions. I don't know if I've got time for questions now, but that's it really.
Unfortunately not, but that is absolutely incredible, and also it ties in beautifully well. So within my role at Jack, and we use kind of insights and behavioral-led data all of the time. So across jack.org, which is the free to use platform, and Jack at Work, which is the paid side for employers, we're finding consistency around financial well-being and financial security as kind of some of our top asked questions. So so please don't underestimate the impact of I guess investing in additional services that might really support your employees, because the impact that can have on that one person or those multiple employees will only turn out to benefit your business in the long run. So the more that we can do, like I said, we can see it firsthand that these stats are there and they're being asked. And we also then know that it contributes to additional anxiety. It contributes to heading towards kind of burnout, because all of these things do take an impact and a toll. So Anna, thank you ever so much. Whoever's sharing screen, if we could stop sharing screen, that'd be incredible. Thank you. So we're now going to go on and actually talk and do a Q&A with an includability employer. In fact, there's 2 of them, so you get double bubble today. So we've got Erin Quigley and we've got Lucy Entwistle from IQ Students, and we're going to kind of be talking to them today around, as an includability employer, I want to chat through kind of their well-being strategies. And it's a complex business. I'll let them kind of talk about the business, but essentially it's student accommodation and it's multi-site. So with that, we know comes very different challenges. So Erin, Lucy, I'll let you kind of do a quick introduction, and then we'll kind of get into the Q&A.
Yeah, sounds good. Hello, everyone. I'm Erin Quigley, and I am the People Experience and Engagement Manager here at IQ Student Accommodation. So we touched on it a little bit, but yeah, IQ Student Accommodation is here to provide student accommodation across the country in the UK. So we are the home away from home for many students. We have now 77 sites. I think it's 35,000 beds across the country. We're as high as Dundee in Scotland and as low down to Plymouth at the bottom of the country. And yeah, we're really here to kind of provide students with that amazing experience as they're going to university, moving out of home, stepping out into starting to be an adult by themselves. So that's kind of what we're here to do, but I'll let Lucy introduce herself as well.
Yes, hi everybody. So I'm Lucy Entwistle, the People Director at IQ. I've been here for 18 months. And previous to that, I was at the gym group, and I can see one of my fellow team on the call. So hi, Rachel. There she is. So yes, it's lovely to see your face. I'm glad that I got you off camera. As Erin said, beautifully explained our business. And when we think about wellbeing at IQ, we've got 32,000 students that we look after on a yearly basis, and students, whilst they bring with them lots of fun and lots of social activities and beer pong and pizza nights and karaoke booths and bowling alleys and everything that wasn't available when I was a student, which is now. So they come and live their high life, but with that comes a multitude of mental health and well-being. So we have a real me and Erin have a bit of a dual role in terms of well-being for our teams and our IQers, as we like to call them, as we all are, but also for our students as well. So I trapped up 18 months ago and was like, what, everybody's mental health first aid trained? That's amazing. But they're not mental health first aid trained as an employee. They're mental health first aid trained to help our students and to support them. So it gives a real different dynamic to well-being, and we are on that good old-fashioned journey in ensuring that we can make sure that what we get, you know, that the support that we can give to our students is also mirrored in what we're doing for our employees. Because, as I said, they deal with so many highs, but they also deal with some quite significant lows, which I hadn't really anticipated before I came into PBSA, but here I am. So yeah, so I'm going to try and shut up, which Rachel and Erin both know is quite difficult for me, and hand over to Erin, who's going to answer your questions, and I'm going to try and sit on my hands.
Amazing. For a very split second there, it was almost like colleagues reunited, which was quite nice.
I wanted to give her a cuddle, but I was like, I'm going to be professional and message her afterwards and say how wonderful she looks.
But look, I think with includability, kind of as most of you will kind of be aware, we kind of focus on certain pillars, whether that's kind of mental health, kind of well-being, ED&I, sustainability, talent management. So what is it that IQ are focusing on kind of this year within kind of the includability space, either Erin or Lucy?
Yeah. So I think we've had a lot of focuses, and I will say as well, going through the includability process was actually very therapeutic for both Lucy and I. It was such a wonderful experience to kind of talk through the work that we were doing thus far and kind of hear from these kind of verification experts on if what we were doing was kind of the norm and if what we were doing was kind of pushing the barriers already. So I just want to say that includability process was a wonderful one, and we enjoyed it so much, and it really gave us that kind of thumbs up that we are on the right kind of path. One of our biggest key focuses this year, we've been trying to look at everything because we always do that, but ED&I has been a really key focus here at IQ, and just really getting people to come along on the journey with us. So our ED&I strategy is actually called Unique. We try to have a play on IQ as much as we possibly can in our organisation.
It's the only one it works.
It's the only one it works with, because Unique has I and Q in it, so it was just dreamy for us. And that is what it is all about, is our people truly being their unique selves at work. So that's what our ED&I strategy is, and we kind of split that into 3 different pillars. So that's culture, insights, and talent and acquisition have been our kind of key focuses for this year. So big aspect around culture was launching our new EVP. So really getting a sense of what does it feel like to work at IQ, and having that come through the voices of our people as much as we possibly can. So I'll just whip up as well. We've got our little mugs that say it's an IQ thing. So it's an IQ thing literally launched, it was February this year, and we brought all of the voices of our people, heard exactly what it looked like, felt like, to work at IQ, and brought that into one EVP called It's an IQ Thing, which is all about what it feels like to work here at IQ. So we launched that, and that has given this organisation a real sense of just knowing the direction that we're going in. We've got our people's faces plastered everywhere. There's a huge diversity aspect to that, really showing off the diverse people that we've got working at IQ. And that was a really success for us this year. Not only that, our partnerships have been a really key thing for us. So obviously we've sat on this call today with includability, but we've seeked out a few different partnerships to really help us on our journey, and understanding on which ways we want to go and what paths we want to go down. And then our unique working group, which is really, really key, as we all know, to any kind of ED&I strategy, is ensuring that you have a group of people in your organisation who are going to champion and also give you really good insight on the things that you're doing around your strategy. So we have a working group of 15 people from all across the organisation in different parts of the country, that really help us with all of our ED&I deliverables, but also help us kind of raise awareness and lots of different topics around ED&I. So launched all of that. We also, and under our insights pillar, have now got an ED&I dashboard, which I think was really important for Lucy and I, because we really want to get an understanding of our different demographics across this organisation. And before, we kind of didn't have as many options around disability and sexual orientation. And so we wanted to be more inclusive in those areas. So we've now got an ED&I dashboard, and we also kind of went out to the organisation to help them understand why it's important that we collect this data, running a campaign that was called kind of Sharing You at IQ is what we called it, and brought people along on that journey of why we were using that data and what it was going to be used for, and that it was going to help us see where we kind of had gaps in the business and where to focus our efforts on the year ahead. So we're up to the second dashboard of that, and we continue to do it on a quarterly basis. And then our talent and acquisition, obviously really, really key for us. Our EVP is there to help attract and retain the talent that we know aligns with our culture inside and that employee value proposition. But also we ensure that we've got that kind of diverse panels and diverse shortlists every time we're bringing kind of people into IQ. Anything to add to that? No? What's up? Fabulous.
That sounds amazing. And also, firstly, well done for kind of getting there. That's quite a process to kind of to go through. But I guess the dashboard then, is that also then used to help measure your success and your progress, and that's kind of where you are hitting obstacles?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a real sense of going, okay, where do we need to focus our efforts? So I'll give you an example. We know that for one of our roles in our site area, which is in our student accommodations, we have customer service advisor roles. And what we could see from the data is that we don't have a very good age demographic spread in that role. We actually only had 7 people aged over 50. So what that helped us to do is identify, actually, there's a big area of opportunity there, and why might we be only attracting that kind of younger demographic into that role? Is it our job descriptions using terminology like lots of high energy and go, go, go? So we've kind of done a look at that, and also running a bit of a referral campaign for our people to kind of go, if you know of, ex-colleagues, family, friends who you think would be wonderful for this role, because there are many aspects that are great, no matter if you're 18 years old or 50 years old, that are really great for this. Refer them to us, and let's get you to help us bring the right people in to do this. So we've got that demographic spread. So we're using that dashboard to give us insights and focus our efforts.
And just to kind of follow up on that, just in terms of how important this is at IQ. So we have the unique working group, and they do lots of great work. We then have a unique steer core, which is headed up by 2 members of our executive team. We've only got 5 members on the ex-core team, so 2 of them sit on the steer core, and the other 3 people are director level, who kind of look at the top down, are we doing enough? And then we've got a strategic imperative, which I go to Exco every quarter on, and in terms of update, in terms of what we're hitting, bringing the data, bringing the dashboard, what we're doing. So this is we are a very data-driven organisation. So this is something that is super key. And as I say, it's not just something that me and Erin run the data and go, oh, that's interesting. It's actually then replicated across the organisation, and we go and show what the data is telling us, and then look at, there's not massive things that you can do in these kinds of situations. Like, we pick CSAs in, on looking at attracting that older demographic, because we've got really high turnover in the CSA population. So is that linked? Feels like it might be. So let's go and address it and and really prove that point. So the data's helping us channel our specific areas of focus, because the last thing I want to do is take a broad brush approach and do this must do everything for all people, because it doesn't, and it becomes irrelevant then. So day to day.
And it's such an ongoing, ever evolving kind of journey, isn't it? To make sure you're doing all of this and you're really engaging with the team, and you've got the buy-in. So, and what is your current approach to wellbeing then as an organisation?
Yeah, so I really resonated with Tanya's point earlier about ensuring that your wellbeing, your sustainability approach really connects to what your organisation is here to do, and ensuring that it aligns. So our approach to wellbeing is called IQ Thrive, and that's not only the approach to wellbeing, but it's also our approach to sustainability. And we're still on a journey with this. This is very much the beginning, but we've been doing some really exciting things under each of the pillars that I want to talk you guys through. So the 3 pillars that go underneath IQ Thrive are think green, give back, and then feel good. So the think green aspect is supporting our mission to kind of reduce our energy consumption. Like, we know we have 75 sites all across the UK, and that's going to be using a lot of power, that's going to be having a lot of waste, that's going to be, you know, doing all of those things that we can absolutely have impact at reducing. So the Think Green aspect is looking at what activities we can do. So our sites obviously have, you know, regimes around recycling. If we are getting rid of any furniture or things like that, how can we donate them? We have something called the Think Green Pledge, which we get our students, residents to sign up to, that says that they will do things like turn their powers off, keep the heating on while they're out, you know, little things like that that can really go far in ensuring that we're bringing our residents along on that journey and trying to reduce their energy consumption. We then have Give Back, which of course includes things like payroll giving and volunteer leave and match up, which people can, you know, at IQ can go ahead and volunteer their time. But something we're really, really proud of is we've just recently partnered with Outreach, which is going to support our kind of commitment to the improving social mobility. So Outreach, we've partnered up to them to provide 40 undergraduate students from a less advantaged background access to top graduate jobs when they come out. Not only that, we have also provided 10 of those students with accommodation at our sites and bursaries. So this was a really pivotal moment for IQ. I think it aligns with our value, our mission, what we're here to do so closely, because considering the work that we do around residents and having students, it just really made sense. And it's not only been wonderful to see that partnership take place, but our IQers have just really appreciated that partnership and, you know, think that it's really impactful. They've also become mentors themselves. So we've allowed IQers the opportunity to sign up as mentors for the undergraduates that we're bringing into this journey. So IQers are able to make impact in that way and kind of coach and mentor someone as they're coming out of university and going on that program. So that's been a really awesome thing for us. And then lastly, Feel Good, which is kind of what we've touched on a lot today, all about setting our people up the best we possibly can so that they can support our students and residents the best way. So Feel Good currently looks at, like Lucy mentioned earlier, having wellbeing ambassadors. So we basically do mental health first aid training, put them through that, and then put them on wellbeing summits every quarter, and just ensure that we're really supporting all of our staff that work across our sites the best that we possibly can, because they get thrown with a lot of different situations from our students. It's not always rainbows and sunshines, and it's really, really important that we're there to support them through a very pivotal changing kind of moment in their life. So those are the three pillars at the moment. Like I said, they're growing more and more, and we'll hopefully get different things underneath them. But it does have a primary focus on our students and residents at the moment, because that's kind of key for us. And we are looking, which I'll touch on soon, around how we kind of bring more of our IQ as wellbeing approach into it.
Love that. And also, that was going to be one of the questions I asked around kind of how much do you take into consideration when kind of bringing out a new product, provision, service, where it's kind of, it's not just your staff, it's actually, you have so many residents, so many students that you're in control of, essentially. So how much does that kind of play a part in whatever you deploy and whatever you look to implement? Is that always a mainstay in your thinking?
Massive.
Yeah, it is. And you'll see, and again, I was, I'm going to have a flick through LinkedIn and our Instagram pages, and you can see that wellbeing, our student wellbeing, is front and pivotal to what our site teams do. So they not only look after them, actually running wellbeing, kind of things across sites. So we've just had one of our Scottish site that does the pets on the site, that absolutely, in that particular site, that's a thing that they absolutely love. We've just seen, and they run quite a lot of these wellbeing initiatives in the first couple of weeks. So whilst they're out partying and doing freshers for our first years, what we're doing on sites is actually trying to combat loneliness. Because for some people, this is the first time away from home. And if you see, I have been there on check-in, you know, and some students walking in with a pack of 24 beers under their arm and they're like, see you later, mum. And other ones are literally frightened to death, where actually I want to go and move them in the room and sit with them for a while. So hence the reason why I do the job that I do and not what they do. I think I have a lot of people living with me. So it's, you know, it's combating loneliness, because that's the thing that you don't think about. Yeah, they're living the best life, but they're living on their own.
Yeah.
So I've seen lots, you know, so wellbeing initiatives around making friends. That sounds crazy for an 18, 19-year-old, but it's something that we take for granted, because actually you make friends at school really easily, don't you? Because you don't care at that age. But when you're 18 and 19, you're a lot more self-conscious. So they've been doing the
fringe networking,
sip and paint. I've seen a few other ones. So, you know, our site teams are really tasked with thinking about wellbeing initiatives which are relevant to their students, and not only, you know, think about actually making them feel good, but combating all the other issues that can impact on their mental health as well. So you know, so it's when I joined, I was thinking like, right, employee wellbeing, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a bigger thing that I hadn't even contemplated. So it really does make you know, think differently about what we do because of what they then need to go and do in sites.
I was going to ask you kind of what your future plans for kind of well-being kind of are. We can touch upon that kind of slightly. I'm just aware of time. So actually tell us, kind of inspire us all and tell us kind of what you do have planned from a well-being perspective, kind of as we head into the back end of 2023 and into 2024.
Yeah, so actually we're literally just working on it now. That's the exciting thing. So I think we've got the organisation to such a great point in terms of our students and our residents. It's now time to really look within, and we have identified, look, you know, there is absolutely so much more that we can be doing for our people from a wellbeing perspective. So what we did in our latest annual engagement Express Yourself survey was ask them to really share with us what we could be doing around employee wellbeing, and what they feel like they need from us the most. So we're working on at the moment kind of creating a wellbeing framework that is going to kind of align under the same kind of pillars that we've got under our student wellbeing, because we don't want them to feel like two separate things. We want them to feel really aligned, and like we you know, what our students are getting is similar to what our people are getting in some sense. So we're kind of working alongside our marketing team to look at, okay, what are those pillars that they've got around our student wellbeing? How can we factor and build that into our employee wellbeing? And then taking all of that great insight that our people shared with us and going, I want things like, it's all of the normal stuff that we're hearing from our people, you know, really great gym memberships and financial support around how to best understand their pensions, and ways to kind of reduce that stress, and ways to really give back to their community. So they're forming the same pillars as what we see under wellbeing a lot. So our key thing will be going, okay, creating a wellbeing framework now that aligns to those same pillars around what we're offering our kind of student wellbeing side, and yeah, just really bringing them together and looking to launch that at the end of this year.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, one thing that, you know, I will say, and maybe this is the wrong thing to say, but there is no magic bullet from a wellbeing perspective. I wish there was, because this would be an easy thing to do, and it would benefit everybody, and everybody would say, do you know what, IQ do wellbeing brilliantly. We asked people in our last engagement survey, how are we doing in terms of looking after your well-being? And I thought, here we go. Hold on to your hats, guys. But actually, we scored really highly. I think we were in the 80% in terms of that people were, you know, kind of highlighting that we do take their well-being into consideration. And actually, when you look at it, that's not because we do one thing. We do lots of little things, and what we're getting so much better at is telling everybody what we do. Because when I joined, it was like, you know, we kind of do all this great stuff, but then let's not tell anybody. Let's make them go and find it out for themselves, which is really hard work. So, you know, it's silly things. We do a monthly newsletter called It's an IQ Thing, and we'll do wellbeing wins as a little section in that, you know, which maybe pulls something from my IQ rewards in terms of a benefit, a wellbeing benefit, or, you know, did you know you get 4 times life assurance? I mean, it's a crap benefit to share. It benefits your family and not you, but it's a massive benefit. Do you know what I mean? That actually, if you pitch it right, you know, we should be telling people that they have all this great stuff. So we're about to announce that we're going to do flexible bank holidays for next year. So it's not about just, you know, people don't celebrate the same religious bank holidays that everybody else does. It's actually about well-being, and it's actually about inclusion. Going to give you 4 extra days. 4 of them keep on a bank holiday, but the other 4, and we don't care which 4, apart from Christmas Day, because like the whole country shuts down. But you know, the other 4, book them when you want. Do you know what I mean? This is about your well-being. Book a duvet day. Do something wild like that. You know, book a well-being day. Go and take yourself off to a spa. Go and take your dog for a walk. Do something which benefits your well-being or supports a religious holiday. So it's not massive, and lots of other companies are doing it, but the comms and the messaging behind it, well, I know at IQ at this moment in time will go a long way. So I'm really trying not to sheep dip everybody, and you know, but I'm trying to do things that are little and relevant to our IQers, and it's not easy, and it means that we've got to constantly be thinking of like crazy ideas. So we're doing a pot to pass today, where people are bringing in food from, you know, as part of Inclusion Week. So it's little things like that. It's gone down an absolute storm. I've brought in meat and potato pies, and everyone's not happy with that because I'm Blackburn. But you know, they're going to try them and enjoy them. So it's I think little and often is what I'm taking away from it. But if anybody else has got a magic bullet, please let me know, because I'm more than happy to do something else.
What I would say is, if anyone puts their hand up and says they've got a magic bullet, they're liars. Because
Exactly.
it's not out there. So I think doing lots of little things and doing them well and doing them consistently, and more importantly is, I guess 2 points, is always treating people as individuals, because no one person is the same, and never assume you know what somebody is going to want or need. Exactly. And actually take that away from yourself, because your team are going to be in the best position to tell you what they might need, how they want to be supported, and what's going to make them thrive. I think you're doing some incredible stuff, by the way. I mean, you really do seem to be kind of leading the way. So the feedback from the includability verification partners seems to have been quite honest, which is great to hear. But look, well done on everything that you're doing. We might follow this up with some top tips in terms of like framework, some of the stuff that you're doing, including some of the challenges that you've had, you know, as a business, because there's a lot of success there, but I guess through that success, there's also kind of learnings. And highlighting those learnings can sometimes be the reassurance that somebody needs to say, okay, we don't have to get it right first time every time, because it's never like that, right? So we're going to go into a breakout room now. And look, this breakout room is really just, we want you to, somebody else mentioned at the beginning of this, I think it may have been Tanya, was you mentioned kind of the term magic wand. So go into this breakout room, introduce yourselves, give each other the time to speak. But if you did have a magic wand, and if by any chance you had an unlimited budget, what would you absolutely want to do and love to do in 2024 to support your teams? So you've got unlimited budget, you've got a magic wand, what would you love to do? And then when you come back, just put any of your kind of insights or thoughts into the chat feed. But Dave's going to drop you into the breakout rooms right now. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully your group was informative and good. Definitely put your findings. I would love to know what, if you did have a magic wand and you did have an unlimited budget, what you might actually do with it. Not from a personal perspective, because that's greedy, but to really help your teams. Now, look, actually, I guess following on from what I was saying at the beginning in terms of attendees and it being National Inclusion Week, that's actually come to hit us right at the end. So Saskia is currently with the Met Police doing a talk all around LGBTQ+. She's a recently kind of new ambassador for them. So unfortunately that's kind of overrun. So Saskia is no longer be doing the kind of third talk, but it matters not, because we have had incredible guests. You have had a breakout room, and we are not far off time anyway. So if anything else kind of you want to get from us, we'll make sure Saskia's on next month. I'm just going to hand over to Dave before we go, because we always do B1G1 projects, regardless of kind of whether we have, you know, 15, 18, 100 people, we always do them. So Dave, run us through, mate, I think we've got 4 options this month.
We have indeed, Paolo. Thanks so much. This is lovely. You never let me speak. The power is incredible. This is lovely. Hi, everyone. And yeah, indeed, our 4 B1G1 projects. So I'll drop these into the chat feed. Pop in A, B, C, or D, whichever project you feel resonates most with you. And then, of course, we'll make that goal support donation to them straight away. So Project A is providing access to clean water to families in Cambodia. Then we've got Project B, planting trees for forest protection in India. And then 2 Kenyan-based projects. Project C, providing vitamin supplements to children in impoverished areas. And then D, we have gifting 5 textbooks to disadvantaged children in rural areas in Kenya. So A, B, C, or D. I'm just going to pop those in the chat now. Let me know which one works for you, and we'll make sure that we provide that support as soon as the ESG is done. Paolo, thanks so much, mate. Back to you.
Awesome. Danny just kind of put in there from kind of his from their breakout room about kind of access to dentists, access to mental health and other things without kind of waiting on referrals. So again, the whole thing around includability is we're trying to, I guess, introduce and make people aware of. So definitely have a look, whoever was kind of in that group, have a look at an organization called Perks, PIRKX. So essentially they're a perk box, but for kind of SMEs and slightly smaller organizations. But they give you all of this access to kind of mental health practitioners, to psychologists, to dentists. So well worth kind of looking at. And it certainly kind of seems quite affordable from the conversations that I've had. We've got events coming up. So the next ESG is on Wednesday, 25th of October. So Dave's going to put the link to that. Please do share it with your colleagues. We do have the most incredible and supportive community. And if we are going to kind of take action to make impact, which is a theme for National Inclusion Week, it's really important that we're kind of spreading this message, sharing all of the good stuff that we are doing, and a little bit of inspiration might just start somebody else's journey. We also have a supply chain kind of cost versus ethics webinar coming up. So that's on the Wednesday, the 11th of October, and that's at 10:30. So we've got Brugada, we've got X and Y, we've got Arian, and we've got Green Heart Consulting. So it's going to be incredibly insightful. It's a really, really good, interesting topic of, yes, you want to be ethical, but are the costs kind of outweighed that? And there's some really good kind of points that we're going to be covering in that. So please do kind of come along to that. Dave, again, is going to put the info in the chat feed. Thank you ever so much to our guest speakers, to Tanya, to Anna, to Erin, to Lucy. If there's any questions for any of them, please do direct them at kind of myself, Dave, Chris, James, any of the team, and we'll do our best to kind of get them answered for you. Introduce yourselves to each other. That's probably the easiest way to get the information that you need. Actually have a conversation with each other. We've already worked out that this is kind of ex-colleagues reunited. So get kind of speaking. But look, if there's anything that we can do for you at all, then please let us know. We have an incredible black book of contacts, and whether that's across the world of mental health, wellbeing, sustainability, ED&I, talent management, or leadership and governance, we have somebody that we can introduce you to if you do need support or a little bit of guidance. So use us for what we're here for. Thank you ever so much for coming along and taking the time out. Happy National Inclusion Week once again. Good luck with whatever you're doing across your businesses. And we'll see you at the end of October. But yeah, thank you ever so much, everyone. Take care.